For asking me to chair this. It's been a really interesting morning so far. It's nice to just get out of the office and get your head out of the building and see what other people are doing. So even from that point of view, it's really useful for me. My background is that I work a lot with festivals and events. So I'm not really venue based, but I'm festival based. So I think for me, some of the best, particularly I work in outdoor art. And for me, some of the most exciting and challenging and jaw-dropping things I've seen over the last few years that we have had at Spree and that I've seen at other festivals has been dance-based or dance-related. I think it's fair to say. For me, it's been an education, and I think the dance community are one of the best communities in terms of looking outside of traditional venues and looking and seeing where else they can work and bringing their work outdoors and making it more accessible. So for me, that's been a revelation over the last few years. I think one of the best things I saw over the last, I was on the Arts Council for 5 years and had the opportunity of seeing some amazing work, but I think the best thing I saw over that 5 years was Swan Lake, which was Michael Murphy's performance, and just the production itself. Michael Peter Groves, it's just one of the most amazing things I ever saw. I saw it in a gym in Clonmel, and I was kind of told it was put on first. I think it was on in the O'Reilly, which is an incredibly huge theatre, and I saw it in a gym, and I was told by other people on the Arts Council, "Oh, don't go and see it there because but they literally had black sacks over the windows. It was proper old school, like it used to be, and gymnasium equipment all over the place, but it was just literally the audience was sitting on the floor, and it was just absolutely mesmerising. So for me, that was the best piece. But just before I started, I just wanted to, somebody mentioned, I think in the last panel you were talking about education, and I think Trish, you said it about in the UK and about teachers, being in schools and that. I was lucky enough to go and see Sir Ken Robinson doing a TED talk there a few years ago. He's an educationalist, and he firmly believes that the way we educate children today is all wrong. It's rooted in sort of 17th, 18th centuries traditions, industrial revolution, bring him in, the 3 hours, blah, blah, blah. He's convinced it's like we need to throw it all out and start it over again. But he said, as part of his research, the thing that he has found most intriguing is that dance is the best form of education possible. That if you teach kids through dance, they learn faster, they learn more. And he believes that every child should be given the opportunity to dance. So I was like, dance, really? But it was just really revelatory for me to hear him saying that. So before we start, so I kind of sprung this. I said it to Miriam and Elizabeth. Sorry, Joe, I'm going to spring it on you now. I'm going to just ask each of our panellists to give us kind of like a short, if you like, 2-minute, 3-minute brief background to themselves and a project that they've worked on maybe in the past or that they have been involved with that they've been most proud of because of the obstacles that were in their path. Doesn't necessarily have to be money related, or whatever. It could be anything. If it was dance, better again, but just in general, a project that you've been involved with, where you've had to face a lot of obstacles and got it through and you were brought over the line.
So I can't think of any word that isn't the case.
Well, I'm just saying the one you're most proud of, shall we say? Okay. So I give Anya and Joe a minute to think about it, and I'm going to introduce. Sorry, I should introduce. This is Elizabeth Whyte, Mary Boland, Joe Mangan, and Anya Stapleton. So Elizabeth, do you want to kick off?
Okay, hi, Elizabeth Whyte, Wexford Arts Centre. Been director there since 2006. We've multi-arts programme in our theatre. It's a small theatre. It's the oldest regional arts centres, and we're celebrating our 45th anniversary this year. And we also manage as well now another centre in Enniscorthy, the presentation centre in Enniscorthy. So dance has always been very much part of even before my time back into the 80s. We were a barefoot dance company. It was a hotbed of contemporary dance in Wexford, wasn't it, Deirdre? With Cathy O'Kennedy, who initiated that, and I know Deirdre would have come through there, and then Myriad Dance was kicked off. So when I arrived in 2006, actually, one of the first projects I saw was Deirdre and Myriad Dance doing this amazing dance production in South Abbey. And with also international artists from the US. So when we're talking about ambition, that's where I started out at the height of ambition, and over the years we've diminished back down to just we're lucky to get £5 put on the locally produced project, and it has to be social inclusion engaged or in that respect. Not that that's all very valid and very worthy work as well. And if you're to ask me, most recent project, I would say Moving Skies was a fantastic project we did with Deirdre Grant, and also in association with Nick Day. So it was a crossover of movement and choral work, and it was a multi-generational piece as well. We had from 13, I think was the age of one of the youngest, up to 77, and that was a really rewarding project to work on, and that was thanks to support from Creative Ireland as well, and that we're able to put on that work. So that was probably the most recent project that I worked on, and that I would say, most proud of most recently.
Okay. Miriam Boland, Theatre Manager of the Theatre Royal in Wexford. And the Theatre Royal, although we're now known as an arts centre, just know that the Arts Council are insisting that all of us in the country now are called arts centres, not venues anymore, which is interesting. And it's constant ongoing conversations between buildings like this, which is very, very definitely an arts centre, and then a building like the Theatre Royal, which doesn't have the capacity to provide a wide range of arts activities. So it is really an interesting one for us as that type of theatre venue, or art centre, as I need to call it. Just so you're aware, the Theatre Royal, out of a strategy, a 3-year strategy that began in 2015, we did look at audience development areas, and we have been concentrating very heavily on a theatre audience, because the theatre audience in Waterford was also something that died quite dramatically, for all kinds of reasons, and we have been looking at developing that, and I can tell you there are real successes out of that, and things are really improving, so that's really good. We've also been concentrating on developing work for young people, children and TY, our second level students, as well as developing opportunities for older audiences. And because of the type of arts centre we are, it's been primarily around what can we provide for them to come and experience, mainly by seeing and watching. My own background is in theatre production. I did train as an actor a very, very long time ago, and I just want to say to everybody here, I knew nothing about tax, I knew nothing about VAT, I knew nothing about, and even as a theatre manager, because I trained as an actor, I had to learn that on the job. And I can tell you, venue managers or art centre managers meet about 4 times a year, and there's a wide variety of us who have come from that artistic background, and we have had to learn it on the job as well. I will say though, that what we're trying to get across now to artists is, because we're at our desks all the time, we've learned it at a faster rate than artists. I live with an artist, I know how difficult it is for artists. So what we're trying to do now is get across to artists to come and use us as a resource, because we know it, because we've had to know it, and we've had to learn it at a really fast rate. So come and learn from us, because we're there to be used as a resource. Our buildings and our team and everything else. Anyway, sorry, Miriam, beg your pardon. The project. So I was delighted, Trish, you mentioned Libby Seward earlier on, because certainly from my experience of dancing in Waterford, it does go back to Libby's time, and I had the opportunity, or you could call it something else, but we won't, to work with Libby. She came and she needed an administrator, and I worked with her, and she created a piece that was performed in the Granary, or in Greyfriars, which is where the arts office recently was. And Libby had a vision to create this extraordinary piece of work, and the challenges were varied and vast. I suppose the biggest challenge for me, because of my background in theatre production, we always produced in a theatre venue. And suddenly you're producing work in a venue that's not. And it was the arts, it was in Greyfriars. The arts office had their office upstairs. Part of the performance was in there, and then the gallery space was in there as well. So you came up against things like scheduling and a wide variety. And then you had Libby, who was so completely driven. And so you had to follow her, you had to follow her guide and her lead, because she was making it up as she was going along. So there wasn't just the challenges of the production of the venue and the finance or the lack of, but there was also the challenge of Libby's extraordinary vision, and you had to literally keep up at a pace to stick with her. But it was the most exciting project I think I had ever worked on. And a real opportunity for me in that kind of managerial role to be creative as well. So it really was.
I stage managed that piece.
Yes.
And the dancers.
I think we put you in, yeah.
It's incredible. And Miles Breen was one of the, he was acting and dancing in, but at one point it was basically like we were in their office, like the dancers were dancing on their computer desks, you know what I mean? It was cracked, but amazing, yeah. So, yeah, it was, yeah.
We've spoken about Libby actually quite a bit this morning. It's not changed on here. But is it fair to say, before I just go on to Joe and Anya, that Libby got so frustrated with intelligence that was one of the reasons.
Isn't it the reason she
gave up and just couldn't deal with it anymore?
Yeah.
It just became so difficult.
Yeah.
You know?
There was a theatre forum conference we were at this year, and there was an artist on stage, and I can't remember who said it, but somebody in the room said, a little tip, marry a producer. And it really is, it doesn't make sense. Both sides of that team in one house. It doesn't make sense. Anyway,
We're losing amazing artists.
Yeah.
That's the tragedy. It's interesting just hearing about our illustrious leader being stage manager, and we've all been stage managers, and
Washer and swept the floor.
Yes. I did refuse to sweep the floor though when it came to film, because I was like, I've done my year sweeping the floor. It's like, not doing it with film. Back off. I blocked the sheep from walking up the road in short film, and I gave burgers to really annoying little kids who kind of the next day on a short film turned into little brats. I'm like, I asked for cheese on my burger. I'm trying to get me home.
Suddenly they have an ego.
Suddenly they have an ego. It's shocking. I'm sure we all have a bit of them. But so I would call myself a theatre director normally, but recently I directed Aerial Dance, which was brilliant and fun with Fidget Feet. I did a show with them called Bingo Wings, so I learned a huge amount, and that's kind of my thrill has been in the stretch zone. I've also been doing some virtual reality work recently, so I curated the Prague Quadrennial for Ireland and decided to do it in virtual reality. And I actually worked with Catherine Fay, who's one of the designers that was featured, and Justine, what's Justine's name? Beautiful, tall, blonde dancer. Cooper? Yes, she was in the piece as well, thank you. But I suppose my day job is running Carlow Arts Festival, but I'd still always lead with I'm a theatre director, because I feel like that's who I am. And yes, I run a festival, and that's my kind of official 3-day-a-week job. But to be honest with you, because Carlow Arts Festival has kind of in a way landed in the past few years, it's like things have improved hugely in terms of our turnover, audience attendance, and kind of general sort of happiness. I did make a few enemies on the way, but the thrill a little bit has gone from that, and having passion be my only driver for doing anything, I always have to keep my eye out for other projects that kind of come to me and keep balls in the air. But I think it's interesting I was thinking about that you kind of stole a lot of my thunder in your opening in terms of, I suppose, just being really excited by dance in situ, dance not in theatre, but generally actually arts not in theatre, theatre managers. But there's, I suppose my background is site-specific art, so I'm always really keen on bringing the arts artists to places that don't ordinarily encounter them. And in a way that's been to my detriment, I think, as a creator, because I haven't been someone who's been putting on shows up in Dublin in the project, you know, a couple of times a year to make sure the great and the good see it, and they kind of rowing behind you with all the quids. So much so that I did a thing called the Chloroculture Leadership Programme in the UK in 2011-12, which is a massive investment that the Arts Council make in an individual. It costs them 70 grand. They don't get to pick you, but you get to go and do massive personal development, massive organisational development that you can bring into your work in the future. It takes about a year. You do placement. I did a placement in the Barbican, just massive learning. And whilst I was doing that, my company, which is the Performance Corporation, were completely cut by the Arts Council. So we were what was called a regularly funded organisation. Ha ha ha, do you remember them? So we went from being oh yes, no, you're one of the special few that we're going to fund into the future because we think you're great. Yeah, you're doing great work too. Oh, there's no money, you can't have me anymore, that's it. But I suppose my resilience then kind of manifested and just, it sort of struck me about the challenge question, because it was like a massive sucker punch blow. I thought we were doing great work. Obviously, we all think we're doing great work. We wouldn't be doing it if we didn't. We were providing opportunities for artists through the space programme. Anya, you were knocking around with us at one point for that, which was very fun in Castleton House. We were based in this beautiful Palladian mansion in County Kildare, and so I decided, perfect this for a game of ponies or whatever. Was it? Game of soldiers. Thank you. We'll put on a festival. So with the last dregs of quids that I had left in the Performance Corporation bank account, with doing a massive big online push, getting money from Leader after actually it just coincided after 5 years of badgering them and showing them that it wasn't just about Wellingtons and cheese, and that culture was part of their remit. I managed to put on a festival, a site-specific arts festival, Ireland's first, in Castleton House with a budget of 350 grand. Nearly killed me, and I like massive sleepless nights because I was personally on the hook for it if quids didn't land and all the rest of it. But it was spite, to be honest with you, more than anything else made me do it. It was just like, those fuckers think they can just decide my future, my company's future, my creativity. They can in their holes. I'm sorry, I'm very cursy this morning. So that generated massive resilience in me for that particular thing. But it's a constant battle, and I'm sure we'll come back to it.
Yeah, we spoke about that at the first one as well, didn't we? How it's just constantly fighting. Anya?
I'm sure you were making good work. It's nothing to do with the
Oh,
work.
I'm still am.
Oh yeah, but when they cut the.
Yeah. Sorry.
I suppose because I used to work in Wexford with Miriam and Wexford County Council with the Pulse Youth dance programme, that came to mind today. Deirdre's here. I drove past Wexford. And we also spoke about education, and I think I worked with a few of the different youth dance groups in Wexford, but I think in particular the teenage group was a really important experience for me when I was leading the youth dance group through Pulse. Partly because like dance itself is such a transformative experience for everyone involved. Changes your body, takes attention out of the thinking mind, really important for mental health, and so there was like this kind of social, personal aspect to the work with the youth dance company as well, where they'd come to you with their problems as well, and they had this kind of space where it was open enough they could express what they wanted through movement, through language. So I think in one sense that was one of the most important experiences I've had with dance, and I'm really sad to hear that that's gone from Wexford at the moment at least, and I hope it comes back. It's important in every county. I tried to set youth dance in Wicklow as well, but it didn't really take off. But especially coming from a more rural area in Ireland, I understand the need to have something like that, available and for the youth.
I think that this is the killer, and we touched on it earlier, and Joe just touched on it there, that you can set up something amazing and brilliant, and then the rug is just pulled out from underneath you for no reason, and it might be nothing to do with the work. It just might be that there's a new officer sitting in Dublin, or somebody, the moon was blue yesterday, and carpet is red today, and it's just, which is the scary part about it almost, because sometimes it can appear so random that suddenly things aren't what they used to be.
It's coming about the funding aspect. I was talking to John Scott yesterday, and he was talking about he's got about 3 years of work lined up internationally. And then on the other side, I said, well, how are things going in Ireland? Have you heard anything, with the funding announcements? I think there was only one dance touring project that was funded. I don't know how many were given to theatre or visual arts or wherever. And I think if we're talking about sustaining ambition, that we need to be taking account of all these figures, of where the money is being divvied out, and for the dance sector, how little is going there. But then at the same time, when you look at the power of dance, like I know I was talking, you know, if I go to the Galway Arts Festival, I was just thinking, what did I, you know, the last shows I went to see, the Galway Arts Festival, the Dublin Theatre Festival, both of them were dance shows. When I had little time, I will always go for a dance show because they are the most powerful impact. And it's almost a given, it's a universal language, you're going to be emotionally connected no matter what. And so we need to be making that, I suppose, case lobbying wise, is the impact is there, the audience is there to support it, the funding needs to be there to support the work then, you know, and that ambition.
Okay, I don't want to get stuck on the negativity of funding all the time, much and all is the killer for us all. But I just was wondering if any of the panel have any other things that they would consider to be obstacles, whether small, whether large, that get in the way of ye as programmers or venues or whatever. Programming dance. Now, I mean, one thing which I was found I was obviously involved a lot with circus and street artists, and one of the challenges that came up recently with them was the lack of physio, and I was like, oh, what?
Wow.
And they were like, yeah, you know, that we don't have if someone gets injured or something happens, we don't have the money to go see a physio, so if a festival is able to provide some sort of a resource thing, I was like, what, that is something I would never have thought of, but obviously must be similar to dance.
Correct.
So, Miriam?
I'm just, can I pick up on something that
Yeah.
you said that the audiences are there. Are they there in Wexford?
Well, not for in Wexford, but they could be if it's a large scale kind of, you know, larger productions. Like, you know, when I'm talking, it's like, you know, the international, they're using most sold out shows and festivals, like to that level of, you know, you're talking about the Hoffa Schecter, you know, Political Mother is one of the most amazing shows I've seen. You know, Fabulous Beast had Man there, you know, which was a sellout, you know, as well. They were the most sought after. But I'm saying, we were talking about what, if we were to wave a wand earlier, and what's the model that we should be looking at to supporting dancers. And Maria mentioned the French models, which allows a support of artists in residencies over 5 years. Then our Irish artists could be making productions to that level of, you know, that scale. But they need that, you know, that subsistence. And I know it's not to be barking on about funding, but I do think it's important to be barking on about funding and not forgetting about it. And the only way it will change if we as a sector, and that includes venue managers as well as the artists themselves, get together as you are here. It's great to see this festival. Congratulations and well done on taking the risk for it. But I think it's important to keep these gatherings going, and for us to all come together as a sector and start lobbying our ministers, and, you know, as we've done before, and the Arts Council and the local councils. And it's not just saying you need to support it, it's giving them the model, make it easy for them, and say this is the model in France that we should be working towards. How do we get here? This is how we should be working towards. This is how we can get here, and help them to help you and us. Like, you know, so
it's funny how so coming back to the question about audiences, and it all seems to be festival based, so that audiences are willing to take that risk
I do
at a festival. And so well for venue, and so I yesterday looked at our programme of events over the past number of years and our strategy for 2020, and I need to ask ourselves, why aren't we programming dance where we used to? And the reason we're not, quite simply, is because we're not prepared for you guys to get on stage and perform in front of 20 people. We're just not prepared to do that for all, you know, it's just not going to work. So I suppose Sheila and I have started talking, it was Sheila who brought it to my attention. There is something that we in Waterford need to look at, and us two venues need to look at, in terms of, well, what can we create that creates a buzz that encourages audiences to look at it. And then George, what you said earlier on about the book, people know what a book is. It's so easy, it's tangible, they get it, they know what it is. But then you talk about dance and people are, oh no, they're backing off and they're afraid, and they're just not going to take that risk to try it. So unfortunately, we need to be looking at some kind of festival hub in order to begin to develop the audience.
Or take dance out of theatre context.
Well, I was just going to say to you, Joe, do you find, like, given your background, do you find audiences to be a problem when you program?
No, because 80% of everything I program is site specific.
Yeah.
So we had 55,000 people through the festival last year.
The majority of them didn't buy any tickets, but that meant the thing that I've been kind of struggling with since my early 20s working in this sector is like, you know, making work for people who could afford at the time to pay the £5 to come to see it. I never wanted to make that work. I never wanted to be presenting that work. It's like, it's such, and venues can be a real psychological barrier for people because they think they're not for them. We're bad enough that people don't think the arts are for them. Beautifully designed, architectural, you know, modern buildings feel quite keepy-outy sometimes. You know, we all know, because we've been in it long enough, what to do when the sliding door is open and the person is sitting behind the desk looking at you. We know to go up to them and say, can I have a ticket for the show? I've had conversations with people where they don't know that. You know, we make massive assumptions about people's access points, and there's, I suppose what I'm interested in is how to break down the barriers to access to the arts, because I just think it's so important and it's so it's revolutionary. I think the arts can be revolutionary, transformative, really good for all of our well-being, and I guess I just work as hard as I can to make sure people can see it for free. So it was real. I remember seeing in Targa in Spain about 4 years ago. Difficult enough contemporary dance in a square with about 500 people sitting around it in rapt attention. And they didn't just land out of the blue, and they're not all kind of international presenters looking to, you know, program something exciting in a kind of city context. They were the people of a town, not unlike Carlow, like a town that doesn't even have a hotel. So you have to stay in people's houses when you go to this festival.
It's kind of like Carlow.
Hotels now, come on. But it is, you know, it's an agricultural town up a mountain with the smell of cowshite sort of drifting in. So you're not talking, you know, necessarily a cultural beacon of a city. But because this audience had grown up with really easy access to all arts, outdoor street arts, circus, spectacle, dance, in the public domain, granted the good weather, you weren't ever struggling with that 20 people in the audience.
Yeah, because it's an educated audience,
exactly.
I suppose, and they're prepared to take a risk on it,
Exactly.
but there's no financial barrier to them.
Exactly. But
Whereas,
if you think about the fact that it's 20 people in the audience for you guys running venues, like you're not covering anything like the costs of the thing.
But that's actually become a little bit irrelevant. We're happy to take the financial risk on artistic work now, and good quality artistic work. We've moved on years in relation to that. So we're happy to put aside X amount every year to support artistic work. But it needs, I suppose it is about taking baby steps for a venue or an arts centre. We need to start somewhere with it. We need to start by developing that audience for our city and our place. And perhaps outdoor is where we need to tag on with, so we can then begin to bring it indoors and provide it in another
I recognise
way.
it's a much bigger challenge for a venue than a festival. Like audiences are more kind of up for it in a festival context anyway, whether it's paid for or free. But so you've got like that daily grind of how do I get people through the door interested and stuff. So I totally recognise.
But then we were talking about, dancers wanting to develop work locally and be nursing out. Deirdre, you would have a following. When she was on the dance show in the Arts Centre, it does. Like we had a full house. I know it was culture night, but we're turning people away, sort of thing. But still, we have had good houses for that, and we've had when John Scott comes down, because there's a familiarity there with his work. We do get an audience come in to engage. So it is building that familiarity,
and
as I
trust.
say, and trust. Within, especially I think in rural locations. We all like to know who we're going to see. We're all nosy.
Sorry, Sheila.
Just trust with the artist too, in the sense that, two of the most successful things that have certainly happened, I would say, Dee, and you could tell me, no, I'm correct or incorrect, are the two pieces that have happened as a result of Spark being in Little Room. And the Little Room is a room in the other building down the street, which is the Theatre Development Centre. And that's what we call it, the Theatre Development Centre. So it was it can only have happened as a result of an organic conversation.
But theatre